Hello, Anna Sabramowitz here, and today I want to talk to you about scenarios and how to structure your scenarios so that the answers that somebody's supposed to pick aren't as obvious. So let me just give you a bit of a preamble. When you are designing, let's say, multiple choice questions, the first part, the part that sets up the question or the scenario, is the stem. And then from the stem come the optimal option, A, B, C. And the ones that aren't optimal from A, B, and C are called the distractors. And they're supposed to distract you from the right answer. Now, my idea is that the distractors in a scenario are not the distractors. They're actually supposed to be teachable moments. So you don't waste them. You don't put stuff in there that's not supposed to be a lesson for the learner if they go through it. So one of the challenges that happens, and I see this, through the work that I'm seeing through the students of my scenario design course, is that the right answer sometimes ends up being the answer that's the longest, the most detailed. And so that's a challenge because really that's the truth. So what happens is when a learner is going through your scenario, they'll look at that and they'll say, oh yeah, that's obviously the right answer. And that's the one I'm going to pick. So it makes it extremely obvious to pick that. So what I want you to do, here's a strategy to kind of overcome that and also reinforce some bigger picture thinking, is that when you're dealing with a scenario, let's say somebody they work at a call center and they're dealing with returns. Customer calls in, says, I want to return this item and it's I've had it for 90 days. I know your return policy is 30 days, but I want it returned because it came defective. Now, let's say the optimal way to handle that is to acknowledge the customer and be like, I'm so sorry that happened, blah, blah, blah. However, it's been 90 days. You're beyond the scope of help. Here's what I can do. Give you a credit for next time or whatever, right? Or option B is to say, you missed 90 days. I'm sorry, that's it. You're out of luck. So obviously the one that acknowledges the customer, acknowledges their, the error and maybe tries to do something a little bit for them is the right answer, but that would be just so blatant. And the second option, where I basically reiterate the policy without being empathetic for that customer, is the mistake that most people make. So, without focusing on specific words yet, maybe what you want to do is reinforce processes. So the process that maybe I want to reinforce in my sales scenarios is empathize with the customer, reiterate policy. Not reiterate policy, period. So what I would do then, is probably getting my drift, is in my scenario questions, I present the scenario, I give them the options, but the options are summary pieces of the actual dialogue that would happen. They are summary pieces of the kind of actions or thinking I want people to do. And so each of them would be a very short statement. And this does several things. First, what it does is, because they are short statements, and they all look like they're the same weight. As a learner, I might look at them more closely and I might look at all of them. And the second thing is that now what these do is they reinforce a certain type of action. They don't focus on the specific language of that action, but the kinds of thinking that I want to have my learners be doing while they're going through every single interaction with a customer. They're always going to be thinking empathy first, not how do I deal with Joan. They're going to be thinking empathy first, and then that language will follow. So it might be a good scaffolding technique as well. So what also happens is when you have dialogue that you've listed in your scenarios, if it's very explicit about which one is the right answer, I as a learner will not look at the other pieces. If I see the right answer right away, I'm just going to be like, yeah, that's the right answer, click. I'm not even going to consider the other options. And to be honest, sometimes you want people to consider the other options because those are the things that create the questions and make them search out resources. So do yourself a favor, think about what those processes are first, and then you can come up with the dialogue. I think that helps too, because we sometimes go to the very end and say, what should you say to the customer? But then you want to step back a little bit as a strategist with a SME, your subject matter expert, and say, well, what kind of process are we trying to reinforce here? Okay, we know what kind of language that translates into, but what's this process? Is it to show empathy? Is it to reiterate first? Is it to acknowledge the problem? Like maybe those are the things that we want to reinforce, and then spell out some of the things that aren't being done. And then you can show the consequence, or you can, and then after the person, let's say, clicks that show empathy, they can then be taken to just that playing out, or they can see the actual text, but they have to choose it from a list of options that all look very valid. So I hope that helps. Let me know what your challenges are so I can address them and maybe discuss them and share them and put them out to the community. And subscribe. The link will be below the video. And if you have any comments or any other questions or suggestions, please share them in the comments or send them my way. Anna at eLearnerEngaged. Take care. Bye.